You can tell a lot about the culture of a place if you just look around you a little bit. And if we're going to talk about the culture of law enforcement in the United States, you can tell a lot about the priorities of law enforcement just by dribs and drabs of priority-based decisions being made. Start at the national basis and work our way down. Now, incidentally, that doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't fantastic cops, law enforcement people in the world. Of course there are. We saw this in New Orleans. The terrorist rushes down the streets, mowing people over, and cops run towards it. Gunshots come out, cops run towards it. It happens all the time. But you can look at the priorities of leadership around the country if you do just a quick audit of news stories. It shouldn't be this easy for me to create this. I'll never forget back in the day, we had this thing happen at Microsoft where we had people come in from the car companies, the big car companies, like from GM, et cetera. And they came to meet on the Microsoft campus, GM, Ford, Chrysler, all of them American, Chevy. And they came in to have a discussion about tech. We had these partnerships trying to get our technology into their cars. And my friend Cyrus and I were the only people there who had American cars. So we made a point of driving them and parking them right in front of the building where the meeting would occur. No one else did that. We'd even begged Microsoft to let us rent a fleet of Fords and Chevys to place throughout the parking lot. They wouldn't let us do that. So when we got to the meeting, and some of us gave our opening statements, the chief marketing officer of one of the big auto companies got up and held up his phone and said, "I'm using a Microsoft phone." And people clap, cool, love it. "I'm using a Microsoft PC. Cool, love it. My kids have an Xbox. Cool, love it." I only saw 2 American cars when I pulled into the parking lot today. I couldn't find any others. I drove all around the campus. I saw very few, about 1%. "Really pisses me off," he said. Those are the language he used. He told himself something about our culture. We wanted them using all our products, but we weren't using any of theirs. So you can break that down also into law enforcement. Law enforcement has a huge issue in terms of priorities. Great follow on Twitter I've had for years at AG Hamilton 29. Globalize the infantata comes down to America over the last few months. On 10/9/24, FBI arrested an Afghan national, Nasir Ahmed Tawedi, arrested in Oklahoma City for plotting an ISIS-inspired mass casualty attack on Election Day. 10/26/24, Sidi Mohammed Abdali attempted an attack in Chicago. He's facing terrorism charges after shooting a Jewish man walking to the synagogue and then firing at first responders when they arrived. 11/8/24, FBI arrested Anas Sayad in Houston for providing material support to ISIS and planning an attack on U.S. soil. 12/20/24, FBI arrested George Mason student and Egyptian national Abdullah Azzedlin Taha Mohammed Hassan for plotting an attack on the Israeli consulate in New York City. January 1st, 2025. Samsud Dim Jabbar, a Texas U.S. citizen, was killed by law enforcement after a mass casualty ramming and shooting attack in Nolens. But if you were to look at the FBI's priorities, they told us what they were. White nationalism. They told us. White nationalism is the biggest challenge American law enforcement faces. Culture. What they're showing us is indicative of a culture broken at the top. Now, there were some people at Microsoft who, after that event, who were doing business with these auto companies. There were people on the autos team. We had some verticals within Microsoft committed to working with autos. The woman who ran MSN sales, advertising sales, she put out a bonus program for her employees on her teams to be able to turn in their foreign cars and buy American cars. On the Windows team, particularly on the mobile team, they did the same thing. We'll give you a bonus. Turn in the foreign cars, buy American, and we'll give you a bonus. In other words, they put their money where their mouth is. And there were a lot of employees who stepped up and said, "You better believe it. I'd love to do this." Others didn't, but the culture changed a little bit that day. You can look at the culture from the top and take it down into the bottom. You can just tell so much about culture because culture comes from the top. When I first heard about MyPillow, I wasn't using the product. And I'll be frank with you because I thought it was a joke. I'd see the TV ads and think, this is a joke. No one needs a new pillow. What could possibly be new about a pillow? The guy who does the ads is a little bit weird, all due respect to him. Then I got an offer to try MyPillow. Oh, okay, fine. I mean, were they going to pay me money? Yeah, they'll pay you money. Yeah, okay, if the pillows suck, I can't. Yeah, we know that. I got the pillow, and it was everything I thought it would be. It was a joke. It was this flat thing. And then I read the paperwork, put it in the dryer, and it's going to puff up, and immediately lay down on it. I think they sent me 3 of them to begin with. Okay, fine, I'll put it in the dryer. What's that going to do? It puffed them up. And now the pillow was big and fluffy, all 3 of them, and I laid down on them, and they molded themselves to my head, the way I like to sleep. Now, that was cool. When they got dirty, because pillows get dirty with, dandruff and stuff coming out of our hair and pillow mites and all that, and I realized, wait, I could wash these and dry these almost indefinitely. I could put the whole pillow in here. Then it became something that I've never stopped using. Then I met Mike Lindell, and I did an interview with him. And I grew to understand that one of the reasons that Mike is who he is because he used to be a drug addict and an alcoholic. His own culture had destroyed his own friendships, his believability, his trust in his small town, even family relationships. When he allowed God to work in his life and things changed, it was because Mike couldn't sleep. He couldn't sleep with what he'd done with his life. That's how MyPillow was born. Those ads he did, they're the ads he could afford. I admire Mike and the culture he's built because you know what? Instead of running away from that town where he made a fool of himself and his addictions, he placed MyPillow there, and he provides really good paying jobs. You can go have effectively the same experience I did. Go to mypillow.com/Todd. That's mypillow.com/Todd. Use promo code Todd to get discounts on the entire MyPillow collection. Standard classic MyPillow is $14.88. Queen size MyPillow is $18.98. King size MyPillow is $19.88. These are some of the lowest prices they've ever had. So hurry now, snag your sleep essentials. Go to mypillow.com/Todd. Use promo code Todd for discounts on the entire MyPillow collection, blankets and more. Grab the best comfort at mypillow.com/Todd and reward a culture built intentionally on a godly basis. If you're looking at, let's say, NFL teams, we'll talk about this later. This guy, this is Cam Ward, this incredible quarterback, incredible talent, physical gifts. I'm certain he has got to be a guy who works hard. You can't be that good and simply respond to natural talent. He quit a playoff game at halftime, and his team lost. Culture at the top. There are young people going to look at the decision from Cam Ward and go, oh, that's how it's done. People aspire to be like people who are successful in their careers. When that aspiration's not met, they may double down on the behaviors they think are going to bring it. The culture at the top of American law enforcement has become insane. It's DEI driven. It is a flipping of society where criminals are protected and law enforcement aims their ire at citizens. We talked just a month ago or so and showed the video of a woman being arrested because her son walked to a convenience store. She was arrested for that. This comes not far from where she was arrested. It comes out of Georgia. A homeowner tossed in jail for what?
A Clayton County attorney spent 2 nights in jail after police arrested her for trying to remove an alleged squatter from her home. Good evening. I'm George Estevez.
Hello, I'm Wendy Corona in for Linda Stouffer.
That alleged squatter remains in the Clayton County house more than 3 months after an eviction battle began. Channel 2 consumer investigator Justin Gray is here now. And Justin, the homeowner is the one facing criminal charges here, not the squatters.
George, the Clayton County homeowner says she showed up to the house because she thought the alleged squatter had finally moved out after losing a court judgment. Instead, the Clayton Sheriff's Department says that homeowner performed an illegal eviction.
They've been squatting, and if they have to get somebody killed, they'll do it. Calm down.
From Clayton County Sheriff's body camera, you can see the homeowner, Lalitha Hale, taken away to jail, not the alleged squatter at this Livingston Drive home.
She's going to be charged with criminal damage to property for all of your belongings. Criminal trespass as well for her coming in here.
I spent the night on a mat on a concrete floor in deplorable conditions while this woman, this squatter, slept in my home.
Olitha Hale says this all started back in August when she called police after finding Sakimia Johnson in the house.
How can she not be a squatter when I don't know this person? I've never had any type of contractual relationship with this person.
But a Clayton County magistrate judge ruled under the new Squatter Reform Act, Sakimia Johnson did not qualify as a squatter because she is related to a previous evicted tenant's partner.
I was written in citation about a lawful squatting and an order. A judge signed the order denying it, saying that I wasn't a squatter.
That started a multi-month court battle, filings and appeals. Johnson even filed for bankruptcy, listing Lolitha Hale as her only creditor. But November 18th, a magistrate judge ordered a final judgment in Hale's favor. Hale says she thought Johnson moved out.
Returned on Monday to start painting, and she had broken the locks and re-entered my property. She just pulled up out of nowhere, and she had this guy with him, and I locked the door. I locked the screen door, and he forced himself in, telling us to get out.
Hale admits she is still waiting on a signed writ of possession, meaning she has no legal right to evict.
We have to be notified of this. A writ has to be served, and we have to be involved in that for it to be a legitimate eviction.
Hi there, it's Justin Gray with Channel 2.
These stories are happening all around the country. People are stealing houses, and law enforcement is forced to stand by and let it happen. Sometimes it's out of cowardice, like we showed you in Seattle, where the cops knew a judge had said that this guy was to leave, but they didn't want to get yelled at by this guy's attorney, so they walked, and a woman spent $5,000 on movers who couldn't move. It's broken from the top. Everybody knows that woman owns that house. Everybody, including the judge, knows that woman owns that house. Everybody, including the cops. It rots from the top down. It's going to have to be scrapped from the top down. I don't think this can be remade. And it's not always just law-based, gun-based, badge-based law enforcement. Sometimes it's the bureaucrats who simply have to bureaucrat someone. This is out of Pennsylvania. A pastor's church decided they were going to build some tiny homes for people who had been made homeless by the storms, the hurricanes. This is what law enforcement in the bureaucratic tie-wearing name tag sense had to say about that.
What are we going to do? Are we going to house people indefinitely in hotels?
Others living in tents.
Which is safer? A tent with an open flame heater in it and somebody rolls over in a sleeping bag against it? Or a shed that happens to be insulated? We're now going to be forced to hire a certified engineer to come in, actually take things apart and deconstruct the house to see if it'll pass code.
Transylvania County, pastor being forced to do this. They would rather have people living in tents. Bureaucrats have to bureaucrat someone. Bullies have to bully someone. What fun is being a bully if you don't have anyone to bully? It's kind of a lonely job. The head starts the rot, and it rots on down. This is going to have to be scrapped. DEI is one thing. Insanity is another. Spiritual capture is yet another layer on top of that. Then we boil our way down to institutional racism. This is also from Pennsylvania. This is the announcement of a brand new program for business owners. Well, lest you're stinking cracker.
I'm really excited for not just our membership, but the region and the Commonwealth as a whole. I think that these resources and the new programming and the grant funding is going to really help organizations such as the nonprofits that are doing the work in the trenches, helping these small businesses really thrive. But I'm really excited also the fact that there's going to be some dedicated resources to helping would-be entrepreneurs figure it out. It's a tough lift to figure out what you want to get into and how you can help your community thrive. And so I think that these resources going into these organizations are going to work with these individuals to help them figure it out.
Which individuals? What's say there on the screen? New grant program to help minority-owned businesses with startup and expansion. Oh!
It's going to create a ripple effect.
Wait, and everybody on the TV screen's black.
Ripple effect is going to help them get started, lift them up, but also...
And it's from the center square.
It's going to create jobs, much-needed jobs in these communities. It's going to help these communities thrive with the disposable income that these jobs are going to create, making sure that everyone in every
When there is institutional racism that lives under bureaucrats who bully people because someone's got to bully someone, that lives under law enforcement that is bullying homeowners who are doing nothing more than saying, get out of my house, you don't belong here. And it's headed by an FBI that had told us plainly, the biggest challenge in the United States is white supremacy. And yet we have terrorist attack after terrorist attack after terrorist attack. It's not just a priorities issue, it's a culture issue. Just like happened at Microsoft, where some of the big bosses said, here's some bonuses to purchase American cars. Here's another thing that was done. Back in the day, there was a boss who had a meeting. He brought people into the meeting. He announced a culture change. It was this. Our staff meetings begin at 7:07 every morning. 7:07. You will not be late. If you simply can't make it to work, you're going to text in, I can't make it to work, or I'm running this late. If this becomes a habit, we're going to have a problem. If you don't do that, on the second late appearance, you're done. Our meetings start at 7:07. You all have cell phones. You all have text. If there's ever a day where magically we don't have access to that technology and you can't text in, we're all going to know that. And that boss announced this before taking the job. And on that first Monday morning, 7:07, at about 7 o'clock, all the staff, save one guy, had come into the room. At 7:07, the meeting began. And the boss said, hey, Todd, not me, the other Todd, the guy who worked for me. It was me. I was the boss. I said, hey, Todd, lock the door. He said, but George isn't here yet. I said, lock the door. He locked it. We began our meeting. At about 7:11 or 7:12, there was a hesitant knock on the door. And my employee, deputy, Todd, turned around to open. I said, what are you doing? Because George is here, I'm opening the door. No. The meeting began at 7:07. Did anyone get a text or an email? No one did. No one got a text or an email. George knocked again and this time looked in through the window. People looked around. I said, hey, refocus. Meeting began at 7:07. George figured it out and he walked away. Our meeting wrapped up at 8. We went to work. As I was walking down the hallway, George came to me and said, hey, boss, can I talk to you? I said, yeah, at 5:30 tonight. Not now? Nope. I'm busy. I went about my day, and at 5:30 on the nose, there was George. He came in and said, sorry. I said, do you want her to talk to me? Let me talk to you. Why were you late? And he stood there. I said, that's your one warning. You're never going to be late again. Not like that. Anything else we need to talk about? He and I ended up having a very good working relationship. Very good. He was a must-hire. I was forced to hire him, the one must-hire in my team, and he knew that. But on that day, he learned he wasn't getting any special treatment. The culture changed, and everybody else knew. The meeting begins at 7:07. I don't think we ever had anyone late after that. The culture had to be torn down. The culture in American law enforcement and bureaucracy is going to have to be torn apart.